So it turns out the Pixel 10's biggest upgrade might also be its biggest headache. Google's brand new Tensor G5 chip, the one they built completely in-house for the first time, was supposed to mark a new era for Pixel performance. Instead, it's got users wondering why a $1,000 phone can't even keep up with last year's models in some graphics tests. Here's what's going on. The Pixel 10 ditched the usual ARM Mali GPU and went with something new, the PowerVR DXT481536 from Imagination Technologies. On paper, it sounds solid. It's part of a series that technically supports hardware ray tracing, the same kind of tech used in modern gaming consoles and high-end PCs. But Google didn't enable that feature, and as a result, the Pixel 10's GPU feels like a mid-tier chip trapped inside a premium phone. Performance-wise, the Tensor G5 chip did improve over the Pixel 9's Tensor G4 in raw CPU speed. Apps open faster, multitasking feels smoother, and overall responsiveness is better. But once you start gaming or editing high-resolution video, things fall apart quickly. Sustained performance drops, the phone heats up, and some users have reported stutters, playback issues with GoPro and DJI footage, and even app compatibility problems. And the culprit isn't just the hardware, it's the software too. PowerVR GPUs have a long and messy history when it comes to driver support, and that history seems to be repeating here. Recently, Google finally acknowledged the issue, confirming that GPU driver updates are on the way. In their response to Android Authority, they said they're continuing to improve driver quality through monthly and quarterly updates, with some improvements already rolling out in the September and October patches. That's good news, right? Well, sort of. Because here's the catch. The Pixel 10 is still running driver version 24.3, while Imagination, the company that actually designed the GPU, released version 25.1 months ago. That newer version brings Android 16 compatibility, Vulkan 1.4 support, and some meaningful performance boosts. But Google hasn't pushed that update yet, and they're not saying when or even if they will. So right now, Pixel 10 users are sitting on older GPU drivers that limit the hardware's potential. And in benchmarks, the results show. The Pixel 9 Pro, yes, the older model, actually outperforms the Pixel 10 Pro in Vulkan tests. That's a brutal look for a phone that's supposed to represent Google's first true custom silicon success story. And that leads to a bigger problem. Even if Google rolls out the driver updates soon, there's only so much software can fix. The PowerVR GPU inside the Pixel 10 is still weaker compared to what Apple and Samsung are offering. In 3D Mark tests, the Pixel 10 Pro scores around 3426 on the extreme high benchmark, while the Galaxy S23 Ultra and iPhone 15 Pro hit 3800 and 3600 respectively. That's not terrible, but here's the thing. Those phones came out 2 years ago. So if you're paying $999 for a Pixel 10 Pro in 2025 and you're getting 2023 level gaming performance, it's fair to wonder what exactly you're paying for. Now, to be fair, not everyone will notice. For everyday use, social media, web browsing, messaging, even light gaming, the Pixel 10 feels smooth. But power users, especially those editing video or playing high-end games, are the ones feeling the strain. That's where this GPU issue really shows up. So could a driver update save the Pixel 10's GPU? Maybe. Software optimizations can go a surprisingly long way in improving performance, especially with thermal management and stability. If Google rolls out the PowerVR v25.1 drivers, possibly with the December Pixel feature drop, users might finally see smoother graphics, fewer stutters, and better compatibility with demanding apps. But let's be real. A driver update can't magically change the silicon itself. If the GPU just isn't as capable as its competitors, there's only so far software can take it. And that's the core issue here. Google made a bold move going fully custom with the Tensor G5, but the trade-off seems to be that it's still a generation or two behind in raw GPU power. The optimistic view? This is part of the growing pains. Apple didn't perfect its own chips overnight either. Google might just need a few more iterations to get there. And for now, those incremental driver updates might keep things stable enough for most users. The less optimistic view? Google spent years talking about having full control over their silicon, and yet it's still depending on outside GPU tech that's struggling to compete. If that doesn't change soon, the Pixel's custom chip story could start to sound a lot less like innovation and more like compromise. So for now, the Pixel 10's GPU story stays the same. Good enough for casual use, frustrating for power users, and still waiting for that big software fix. Maybe December's update will turn things around, or maybe it'll just buy Google more time until the Pixel 11 arrives. Either way, the next few months will show whether the Tensor G5 is just off to a rough start, or if Google's grand chip experiment still has a long road ahead. What's your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.